The sky burned red that evening. Smoke rose from the broken buildings and the air smelled of metal, ash, and fear. The planet Kareth had fallen. The war between humans and the native Carethians was over. But victory did not bring peace. Only silence and chains. Ethan Cross was only 12 years old. He followed his father through the ruins, carrying a small metal lunchbox and trying not to look at the rows of alien prisoners. The Carethians looked strange to him. Tall, thin, with glowing silver eyes and skin that shimmered faintly blue under the dusty sunlight. Some were crying. Some just stared at the ground, empty. His father was a soldier, a proud man who believed in the human colony's right to rule. But Ethan didn't feel proud. He felt heavy inside, like a stone had settled in his chest. He didn't understand why winning the war felt like losing something important. That was when he saw her, a small alien girl about his age, sitting by the fence of the slave camp. Her silver eyes were wide with fear, and her wrists were tied with iron bands. Her skin was bruised and her simple white tunic was torn. Yet when she saw Ethan, she didn't look away like the others. She just watched him quietly, almost as if she was studying him. Their eyes met, human and alien, and something changed. Ethan stopped walking. "What are you doing?" his father barked, turning around. "Nothing," Ethan said quickly, pretending to tie his shoe. When his father walked on, Ethan looked back again. The girl was still staring. He wanted to say something, but soldiers stood everywhere shouting orders. So he did the only thing he could, and he smiled a little. Just a small, nervous smile. The girl didn't smile back, but her eyes softened and she gave a tiny nod. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The image of the girl stayed in his mind. He could still see the way her eyes reflected the burning sky. The next morning, when his father went to report to the command post, Ethan sneaked out and walked toward the slave camp. He knew it was forbidden. He knew if anyone saw him, he would be punished. But something inside him told him he had to go. He found her sitting in the same place, watching the guards. When she noticed him, her eyes widened in surprise. "You came back," she whispered in a trembling voice. Her accent was strange but soft. "I wanted to talk," Ethan said. "What's your name?" She hesitated, looking around to make sure no one was watching. "Lyra," he smiled. "I'm Ethan." They sat in silence for a moment, the fence of cold metal between them. The wind carried the smell of dust and fire. Ethan reached into his pocket and took out a small bread roll from his lunchbox. He pushed it through the gap in the fence. She looked at it with disbelief. "Why?" "Because you're hungry," he said simply. Her silver eyes shimmered with tears. She took the bread carefully, as if it were something sacred. "Thank you," she whispered. From that day, Ethan visited her whenever he could. He brought her food, water, and once even a little toy spaceship he had built from scraps. She loved it. When she pressed a button and the tiny lights flickered on, she laughed, a real laugh, clear and bright. It was the first time Ethan had heard her laugh. It made him smile so wide that his cheeks hurt. Weeks passed. They talked through the fence, sharing stories of their homes, their dreams. Lyra told him about the Carethian sky before the war, full of silver storms and glowing rivers. Ethan told her about Earth, a place she had never seen but dreamed of. One night, a storm rolled over the camp. Rain fell hard and thunder cracked above. Ethan ran through the mud to find her. She was shivering, her hands trembling from the cold. "Ethan," she said softly, "why are you kind to me?" He looked at her through the rain. "Because you deserve it." She tilted her head. "Humans don't say that. They call us slaves." "Then they're wrong," he said. "When we grow up, I'll free you. I promise. I'll take you away from here." Lyra stared at him for a long moment. Then slowly she smiled for the first time. "A promise?" "A promise," he said. "And when you're free, I'll marry you." Her cheeks turned a faint silver blue, a sign of her people's blush. "Humans don't marry Carethians." "Maybe not now," Ethan said, "but one day." Lightning flashed behind them, lighting their faces in the rain. Lyra reached her hand through the fence and Ethan took it. The cold metal pressed against their skin, but for a second it didn't matter. They were just two children under a broken sky, making a promise that time would try to destroy. The next morning, when Ethan came back, the camp was empty. The soldiers said the slaves were moved off-world, sold to other colonies. He searched for her for hours, calling her name, but only the wind answered. The fence was gone. Her footprints were gone. The little toy spaceship he had given her lay in the dirt, broken and wet. He picked it up and held it to his chest. His throat felt tight and his eyes burned. Years passed. The war ended and peace returned. But Ethan never forgot her, the alien girl with silver eyes who believed his promise. 10 years later, as he stood in a space station above Earth, an alert flashed across the control room. A massive ship had entered the solar system. The signal it sent was strange, one single word repeating again and again: the promise. And as Ethan looked at the glowing message, his heart began to race. Somewhere across the stars, someone had not forgotten. The stars over Earth Station 9 flickered like cold diamonds. It was midnight and most engineers had gone to rest. But Ethan Cross sat alone in the control room staring at the transmission that had arrived hours ago. The same word, repeating endlessly on every frequency. The promise. No one understood it. The generals said it could be a trap, maybe a coded message from hostile aliens. But Ethan knew that word. It wasn't just a signal, it was their word. The one he had spoken under the rain on a world long destroyed. He whispered it again, almost afraid to believe. Lyra, the computer beeped. Another message appeared. Coordinates for a meeting point, just beyond the orbit of Mars. The alien ship refused all communication except one line of text. Request meeting with Ethan Cross. The entire base went silent when they saw it. Why would an alien fleet know his name? By morning, Earth's Defense Council had arrived. The officers crowded into the command room, old men and women in gray uniforms with eyes like cold glass. Ethan stood at the edge, feeling small in his engineer's suit. General Ward turned to him sharply. You've been requested by the alien ship. Any reason they would know who you are? Ethan hesitated. No, sir. Not that I can think of. He couldn't tell them the truth, about the girl, the promise, or the war. No one would believe him. Ward frowned. Good, you'll go anyway. We want to know what they want. If they try anything, our fleet will blow them out of the sky. Ethan nodded, though his hands were trembling. He didn't know if he was walking into a trap or into his past. 3 hours later, a small human shuttle detached from the station and drifted into the black sea of space. Ethan sat alone in the cockpit, the stars shining through the glass. In the distance, a massive silhouette emerged, the alien ship. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, a floating cathedral of dark metal, curved like wings and glowing with faint blue veins of light. As his shuttle approached, a calm female voice spoke through the speakers. Welcome, Ethan Cross, we've been waiting. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. The voice was soft, melodic, and familiar. He gripped the console tightly. Who are you? He asked, though he already knew. Dock and you will see. The shuttle was pulled gently into a docking bay filled with strange lights. The door opened with a hiss. Ethan stepped out, his boots clanging on smooth silver floors. The air smelled clean, almost like rain. He walked forward slowly, every sound echoing. Then the lights dimmed, and from the shadows, a figure appeared. Tall, graceful, blue-skinned. Her silver eyes glowed softly like twin moons. For a moment, Ethan couldn't breathe. Lyra, he whispered. She smiled faintly. You remember. Her voice was the same, only deeper now, calmer. She wore armor with elegant designs and her long hair flowed like dark silk. Time had changed her, but those eyes were still the same. Ethan took a shaky step forward. You're alive. All these years I thought I was gone? She finished gently. Many of us were taken far from Kareth. I escaped. I built something new. Ethan looked around at the alien ship. This is yours? It's ours, she said. My people call it the Star Wanderer. We travel the galaxies, freeing others who are enslaved. Humans, aliens, anyone who's forgotten what freedom means. He stared at her, amazed. The little slave girl he had met under a burning sky had become a commander of stars. Why now? He asked. Why return after all this time? Her silver eyes softened. Because you made a promise. And I made one too, to come back when I was strong enough. Ethan's voice trembled. Lyra, Earth doesn't trust you. They think you're a threat. She looked out a wide window where Earth glowed like a blue jewel. Humans always fear what they don't understand. But I didn't come for war. Then why did you come? He asked. Lyra turned back to him, her face serious. To warn you. Ethan frowned. Warn us about what? Her gaze darkened. Something is coming, Ethan. Something that eats worlds. We call them the Devourers. They destroyed half the Carethian colonies before we escaped. Now, they are coming for Earth. Ethan felt a chill run through him. You're saying another war is coming. Not a war, she said softly. An ending. Unless we stand together. He shook his head in disbelief. The generals will never believe this. They'll think you're lying. I know, she said. That's why I came to you. You were the only human who ever saw us as more than slaves. The only one who kept his word. Ethan looked at her for a long time, memories flooding back. The rain, the fence, her trembling hands, the promise that never died. He nodded slowly. Then I'll help you somehow. Her lips curved into a gentle smile. I knew you would. For a moment, the silence between them felt warm, almost peaceful. But then alarms blared across the alien ship. The walls pulsed with red light. A soldier rushed in, speaking in Lyra's native tongue. Her face turned pale. What is it? Ethan asked. Lyra's voice was quiet, almost trembling. They've already found us. Who? He said quickly. She turned toward the stars, her silver eyes reflecting distant fire. The Devourers, she whispered. They're here. The red lights flashed across the alien bridge as the sound of sirens filled the ship. Ethan stood frozen while Lyra barked orders in her native language. The calm, graceful commander he had seen minutes ago was now sharp and fierce, a leader in the middle of danger. Shields up, she shouted. Prepare the jump drive in case they breach orbit. Through the main window, Ethan saw it, a strange shape drifting in the darkness. At first it looked like an asteroid, but then it moved. The surface shifted like liquid metal, pulsing with black veins of light. The creature was enormous, swallowing starlight around it. That's not a ship, Ethan whispered. It's alive. Lyra nodded grimly. The Devourers don't build machines. They are machines, living ones. They consume everything, metal, air, life. They erase planets. Ethan's heart pounded. How many are there? Only one now, she said. But where there's one, there will be more. The alien ship shuddered as a dark beam of energy struck its shields. Lyra's soldiers moved with calm precision, returning fire. Bright blue plasma lit up the void, but the creature didn't slow down. It just kept coming. Ethan grabbed the console, trying to stay steady. You can't fight that thing alone. We have to, she said. If it reaches Earth, millions will die. The ship fired another blast, brighter and stronger, tearing a piece from the creature's side. But within seconds, the wound closed. The alien soldiers murmured in fear. It heals, Ethan said softly. Lyra clenched her fists. Then we'll have to hurt it faster than it can heal. Hours later, after the battle ended, silence returned. The Devourer had retreated, vanishing into the outer system. The alien ship had survived, but barely. Smoke filled the corridors and the scent of burned metal hung heavy in the air. Ethan found Lyra standing near a window, watching the stars. Her armor was cracked and a line of blood traced her cheek. You're hurt, he said, stepping closer. She turned slightly, forcing a small smile. Just a scratch. I've had worse. He looked at her in disbelief. You faced that thing and lived. How? Her silver eyes dimmed. We've been running from them for years. Every time we fight, we lose more of our people. There's no victory, only survival. Ethan leaned on the console beside her. Earth's leaders have to know about this. They'll help you. She looked at him sadly. You still believe they will? He hesitated. They're not all bad, she smiled faintly. Maybe not. But power makes people blind, Ethan. I've seen it, in humans and Carethians alike. He didn't argue. Deep down, he knew she was right. When Ethan returned to Earth Station 9, the Human Council demanded answers. The moment he stepped into the meeting hall, the room erupted with questions. What did they say? Are the aliens planning an invasion? Why did they contact you? Ethan tried to explain everything, the creature, the attack, Lyra's warning, but the generals didn't listen. They saw only danger, not truth. General Ward slammed his fist on the table. We don't trust alien stories. For all we know, they staged this to scare us. It wasn't staged, Ethan said firmly. I saw it. That thing destroyed their ships like paper. If it comes here, we won't survive. Ward glared. Even if that's true, how do we know they didn't bring it here? Ethan's voice rose. Because Lyra risked her life to stop it. The room went silent. The general leaned forward. Lyra? You're on a first-name basis with this alien? Ethan realized his mistake too late. She's not what you think, Ward cut him off. Enough. From now on, you are forbidden from contacting them. They will be treated as a possible enemy fleet. Understood? Ethan's jaw tightened. He wanted to shout, but he forced himself to nod. Understood, sir. That night, he sat alone in his quarters, staring at the stars beyond the glass. His mind was full of noise. The war, the council, Lyra's voice. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small charm. Half of the broken toy spaceship he had once given her. He had carried it for years, even when he stopped believing in promises. Now that promise was calling again. The door hissed open. A soft blue light filled the room. Lyra stood there, a faint shimmer around her, a projection. Ethan, she said quietly. I had to see you. He smiled weakly. You shouldn't be here. If they catch this transmission, they won't, she said. I used an old Carethian signal. Humans can't detect it. He sighed. They think you're lying. They think you're the threat. Lyra's eyes glimmered. That's what they always think. But soon they'll know. Why? Ethan asked. She hesitated, her expression serious. Because the Devourers are not just coming for Earth. They've already reached your outer colonies. Your people will see the truth soon, when the sky burns again. Ethan felt his chest tighten. Then we have to act now. We can unite them, show them what's coming. Lyra smiled softly. That's why I need you, Ethan. They will not listen to me. But they might listen to you. He stepped closer to her hologram, his voice low. You still trust me? After all these years? Her silver eyes softened. I never stopped. For a long moment, neither spoke. The hum of the station filled the silence. Outside, the stars drifted like ghosts between them. Then the alarm blared again. Ethan turned to the window, and his heart froze. Dozens of lights appeared in the darkness beyond Mars. Ships. Not human. Not Carethian. Lyra's image flickered as she whispered, It's too late. Ethan stared at the growing swarm of dark shapes. The Devourers. He breathed. And as the alarm screamed, the human fleet began to move, not toward the enemy, but toward Lyra's ships. The stars burned red above Mars. The silence of space shattered as fleets moved into position, human ships forming a wall of metal and fire. From the other side, Lyra's silver vessels hovered like ghosts holding their ground. And in the far distance, something darker waited. They came without sound, sliding through the void like a shadow of death. The Devourers, living machines vast as mountains, each with a glowing core that pulsed like a beating heart. The light inside them was not warm. It was hunger, but the humans didn't see them yet. They saw only Lyra's fleet, alien, unfamiliar, armed. Inside Earth Station 9, General Ward barked commands. All units prepare to engage the alien armada. Fire on my mark. Ethan ran through the hallways, his heart hammering. He burst into the control room just as the countdown began. Wait, he shouted. You're aiming at the wrong target. Ward glared. Stand down, Cross. The aliens have violated our orbit and brought weapons into human space. We're ending this before it starts. Ethan slammed his hands on the console. They came to help us. The real enemy is out there, and look at the readings. Ward's face turned cold. We see no other enemy. Ethan pointed at the radar. That's because you're blind. For a second, the room fell silent, and then the radar flickered. Strange energy signatures appeared, dozens of them moving fast toward Mars. The sensors screamed warnings. Contact. Multiple hostiles incoming. A technician yelled. Ward froze, his eyes widening. What in God's name? Ethan spoke quietly, almost whispering. The Devourers. Outside, the darkness erupted. The first Devourer slammed into a human battleship, cutting it in half with a single beam of black fire. The explosion lit up space, and debris scattered like sparks. The creature absorbed the wreckage, its body glowing brighter as it fed. Fire! All units, fire! Ward shouted. The human fleet opened fire, missiles and plasma bolts streaking through space, but the enemy didn't stop. The blasts only slowed them for seconds before their metallic skin healed again. Lyra's ships joined the battle, launching blue plasma bursts that tore through the Devourer's wings. Her voice echoed through the comms. Ethan, do you hear me? He ran back to the comm console. I hear you. Your fleet is panicking. If we don't coordinate, we'll all die. I'm trying, Ethan said, switching channels. This is Engineer Ethan Cross. Cease fire on the alien fleet. They're allies. The reply came full of static and anger. You're compromised, Cross. You're under alien influence. Ethan slammed his fist on the panel. Listen to me. They're saving your lives. But no one listened. The humans kept firing, some at the Devourers, others at Lyra's ships. The void turned into chaos. 3 sides locked in battle. No trust, no mercy. On Lyra's bridge, smoke filled the air. Her officers shouted reports in her language. One ship after another vanished from the radar. A blast struck the side of her command vessel. She fell hard against the wall, blood running down her arm. Still, she stood up, eyes burning silver. Divert power to shields, she ordered. Focus fire on the largest Devourer. Her second-in-command hesitated. Commander, the humans are attacking us. I said ignore them, Lyra snapped. Save their world even if they destroy us for it. Ethan could only watch as the battle unfolded. Every explosion felt like thunder in his chest. He couldn't stand it any longer. He ran to the docking bay. Cross, where are you going? A soldier shouted. To end this war, Ethan yelled, jumping into a small fighter shuttle. The engines roared to life and the bay doors opened. He flew out into the chaos, between burning ships and drifting wreckage. His tiny shuttle dove straight toward Lyra's flagship. When he arrived, the bay doors opened automatically. She was waiting. The moment he stepped off the shuttle, she turned, her armor cracked and glowing from heat. You shouldn't be here, she said. I couldn't stay there, Ethan replied. They'll never stop fighting unless I make them see. She looked at him for a long moment, sadness in her eyes. You haven't changed. Neither have you, he said softly. Lyra sighed, then placed a hand on his chest. If you stay, you'll die with us. Then I guess I'm staying. Before she could reply, a blinding light filled the bridge. The largest Devourer had opened its core, a swirling vortex of black fire. It was charging to release a planet-killer blast. Lyra shouted, "Brace for impact." The wave hit seconds later. The shock tore through both fleets, human and alien alike. Hundreds of ships vanished instantly. Space itself seemed to tremble. When the light faded, the silence that followed was worse than the noise. Lyra's ship was crippled. Half the human fleet was gone, and the Devourer was still alive. Ethan stood beside her at the control window, staring into the endless dark. We can't win like this. She shook her head. No, not apart. Ethan turned to her. Then we make them listen. She raised an eyebrow. How? He smiled faintly. By doing what humans never do, trusting. They opened a joint broadcast, one signal shared across both fleets. Ethan stood beside Lyra, speaking to every human ship. This is Ethan Cross, you all know me, I'm one of you. But if you can hear my voice, stop firing on the Carethians. They're not our enemies. The real monsters are out there. You saw what they did. You saw how they heal. If we don't stand together, Earth will burn. Lyra stepped forward, her silver eyes glowing through the transmission. My people once made the same mistake. We fought among ourselves while the Devourers fed on our cities. I won't let that happen again. Not to you. For a moment, there was only static. Then, one by one, human captains stopped firing. The radar began to clear. Blue and red ships turned their weapons toward the darkness, toward the Devourers. A fragile alliance had begun. But as the battle resumed, Ethan noticed something strange. A faint hum beneath the static, a signal hidden inside the Devourer's energy field. He looked at Lyra, his voice quiet. They're not just feeding. They're searching for something. Lyra frowned. What do you mean? Ethan's eyes widened. They're looking for Earth's coordinates. Lyra's expression hardened. Then we must stop them, before they find your home. Outside, the Devourer fleet began to shift direction, toward Earth. The Devourers were moving fast. Their enormous shadows slipped across the void like monsters rising from a nightmare. Each one pulsed with red light, the heartbeat of a world eater. On every human screen, one image repeated, trajectory, Earth. Inside the command deck of the human flagship Vanguard, panic spread like fire. Alarms screamed, Officers shouted, and every screen showed the same dreadful truth. The enemy had locked onto their home planet. Ethan stood near the window, watching the dark swarm grow brighter with every second. Lyra stood beside him, her silver eyes glowing faintly in the red light of the alarms. "They've found Earth," Ethan said quietly. "How long until they reach it?" 4 hours, Lyra replied. Her voice was calm, but her hands trembled. "If they touch the atmosphere, your world will burn." Ethan turned to her. "We have to stop them before they enter orbit." She nodded slowly. "We will, but it will cost us." The new alliance, humans and Carethians, prepared for the final stand. Ships that had fired on each other only hours ago now shared the same frequency, the same fear, the same fragile hope. In orbit around Earth, the skies filled with metal. Fleets formed walls across the heavens. The moon glowed pale behind them, watching like a silent witness. Ethan stood on Lyra's bridge, his heart heavy. "Do your people understand what's coming?" "They've been running from the Devourers all their lives," she said softly. "But this time, we have nowhere left to run." He looked at her, really looked. The commander, the survivor, the girl he once promised to save. Her silver eyes caught the starlight, and for a heartbeat, he saw the child he had met long ago under that broken sky. "Lyra," he said quietly, "no matter what happens, I meant what I said." She tilted her head. "The promise?" He nodded. "All of it." A faint smile touched her lips, sad and beautiful. "Then we'll make it count." The first devourer entered the solar shield barrier, a massive sphere of blue light surrounding Earth. The barrier shimmered like a thin veil against the dark. Then the monster struck. A beam of black energy ripped through the shield, splitting the sky in two. Entire defense stations vanished in seconds. The explosion lit up the atmosphere, turning night into day. "Return fire," shouted the human admiral. Missiles and plasma bolts filled space, thousands of them streaking toward the invaders. But the Devourer's armor absorbed everything. Lyra gave a sharp command in her language. Her fleet opened, fire in synchronized patterns, focusing on the creature's glowing core. For a moment, the light dimmed. Hope flickered. Then, from behind, another Devourer emerged, larger than all the rest. Lyra's second-in-command whispered, "The Harvester. It's their leader." The Harvester opened its core, drawing in light, energy, everything around it. Human ships twisted as gravity itself bent under its pull. Ethan grabbed the rail as the ship shook violently. "We can't beat that thing." Lyra's voice was steady. "Maybe not, but we can stop it." She turned to her crew. "Prepare the Nova Lance." Ethan's eyes widened. "What's that?" "A weapon built from a dying star," she said. "One strike can break even a Devourer, but it drains the ship's life force completely. Once fired, there's no return." Ethan stared at her in shock. "That will kill everyone on board." Her silver eyes softened. "Every world has its price, Ethan. Careth burned because we hesitated, Earth won't." The ship's core began to charge, a blinding light growing in its heart. The hum grew louder until it filled the air like thunder. Ethan grabbed her shoulder. "Lyra, there has to be another way." She turned to him, her voice quiet but unshaken. "When you made that promise, you said you'd free me. You did, Ethan. You freed me from fear. Now let me free your world." He shook his head, tears forming. "Don't do this, please." She smiled faintly. "A promise must be kept." Outside, the Harvester roared, a soundless wave of energy that shook every ship. Its beam charged, aimed directly at Earth. Lyra's ship moved between them, shields glowing white-hot. Ethan could barely see through the light. "Lyra!" She placed her hand on his chest. "You once gave me a piece of your heart. I kept it safe. Now, it's yours again." And before he could answer, she pressed something into his palm, the broken half of the toy spaceship. The same one he had given her under the broken sky. She turned toward the console. "All units, focus your fire on my mark." Ethan tried to pull her away. "No, She looked back one last time, her eyes shining brighter than the stars. "Goodbye, Ethan." Then she spoke the final command. "Nova Lance. Fire." The universe turned white. A beam of pure light burst from her ship, slicing through the Harvester's core. For one brief, perfect moment, the Devourer screamed, a sound like the death of a star. The light consumed everything, the enemy fleet, the battlefield, even the silence of space. And then, nothing. The void returned. Where Lyra's ship had stood, there was only drifting dust and a fading glow. The last breath of the Star Wanderer. Hours later, the Earth Defense Fleet regrouped. The Devourers were gone. The skies were safe. But Ethan didn't move. He stood alone at the observation window, clutching the broken toy in his hand. The world had been saved, but his heart was burning. The radio crackled softly, static whispering like distant rain. Then through the noise, a faint voice spoke, soft, like a memory carried by the wind. "When the stars fade, look for me in the light." It was her. Lyra. Ethan looked up at the endless sky, tears shining in his eyes. "I'll find you," he whispered. "I promise." Outside, the clouds parted, and for a second a single streak of silver light crossed the heavens, like a soul returning home. The war was over. The Devourers were gone, but the silence they left behind felt heavier than any explosion. Earth's skies were calm again, too calm. The stars looked peaceful, but for Ethan Cross they felt empty. Every flash of starlight reminded him of her, Lyra, the girl who had saved a world and vanished with it. He stood alone in the quiet hangar of Earth Station 9, staring at the small silver object in his hand. The broken toy spaceship. The last piece of her. He had carried it through fire, through war, through the end of everything. Now it was just still. He whispered to it as if it could hear him. "You promised you'd come back, and I promised I'd find you." Days turned into weeks. The human and Carithian fleets worked together to rebuild. The new alliance had begun, fragile, hopeful, and born from ashes. But Ethan didn't stay. He couldn't. He requested a small ship, an explorer-class craft named Aurora. When the council asked why, he said only one thing: to follow a signal. They thought it was grief, but it wasn't just that. Deep inside, he knew she wasn't gone. Somewhere in the fading light of that final explosion, he had heard her voice, a whisper across the stars. On the 7th night of his journey, Ethan picked up the signal again. It was faint, a single tone repeating every few hours like a heartbeat echoing from deep space. He adjusted the scanners. "Come on, Lyra. Where are you?" The signal led him beyond the known maps, past the broken fragments of Carithian colonies, past the ruins of destroyed worlds left behind by the Devourers. Everywhere he went, he found silence. Not cities, not voices, only ghosts. On one shattered planet, he found carvings in the stone, ancient markings that glowed faintly when he touched them. The symbols were Carithian. He remembered enough of her language to read them. When the body dies, the light remembers. Ethan traced the words with his fingers. The light remembers. Could she have left something behind? A message? A piece of herself? He returned to his ship and recalibrated the signal detectors to search for energy signatures. Anything resembling the Nova Lance explosion. Hours later, something pulsed on the radar. A small rhythmic signal, the same pattern she once used when they communicated during the war. 3 beats. Pause. 2 beats. Pause. 1 beat. It was Lyra's pattern. Her heartbeat code. Ethan felt his chest tighten. "It's you. It's really you." He followed the signal for 3 days through a dark region of space known as the Rift. The area was full of gravitational storms and broken asteroids. The Aurora shook violently as he entered. Lightning streaked across space like rivers of fire. "Come on," he muttered, gripping the controls. "Hold together!" The signal grew stronger, then vanished, then came back, meant faint but steady. He followed it to a massive debris field, what looked like the remains of the Star Wanderer. Pieces of silver metal floated among the rocks, glowing softly like fragments of a dream. Ethan guided the ship closer. "Lyra." His sensors detected something, a life signature. Faint, fading. His heart pounded as he locked onto the coordinates and activated the docking field. He suited up, his breath echoing inside the helmet. The airlock opened and he stepped into the silence of space. There, floating among the ruins, was a sphere of glowing blue light. Inside it, something moved. A silhouette. He drifted closer, reaching out. Lyra. The light pulsed in response. The shape inside turned toward him, and for a brief second he saw her face. Peaceful. Sleeping. Surrounded by shimmering energy. Ethan felt tears in his eyes. "It's you!" The sphere flickered weakly as if reacting to his voice. He tried to touch it, but an energy wave pushed him back gently. The glow dimmed, then brightened again. He activated his wrist scanner. The readings showed impossible numbers. The energy pattern wasn't biological, but it wasn't mechanical either. It was both. A soft voice echoed in his comms. "Ethan." He froze. "Lyra?" The voice was faint, almost like wind through glass. "You found me." He looked around wildly. "Where are you? Are you alive?" Her voice came again, softer now. "Not as I was. The Nova Lance, it changed me. I'm not just flesh anymore. I became light like the stars we dreamed about." Ethan shook his head. No, you can't. I can bring you back." "I can. You already did," she said gently. "You kept your promise." He pressed his hand against the sphere, desperate to hold on to something that wasn't there. "Then come home with me, please." The light inside the sphere shimmered like tears. "Home isn't a place, Ethan. It's the people we love. And you carried me with you all this time." His voice broke. "Don't say goodbye again." There was a pause. Then the sphere pulsed once more, brighter than before. "I'm not saying goodbye," she whispered. "I'm becoming part of the stars. Every time you look up, I'll be there. And when you follow the light, you'll find me." The sphere began to dissolve, the light spreading like silver dust across the darkness. Ethan tried to hold on, but it passed through his fingers like warm air. Her voice faded one last time. "I'll wait for you," among the stars. Then she was gone. Ethan floated there, surrounded by silence and in a sky full of light. The wreckage around him glowed faintly, as if remembering her. The broken toy spaceship drifted from his pocket, spinning slowly, reflecting her light. He whispered into the void. A promise must be kept. When he returned to his ship, he didn't set a course for home. Instead, he looked toward the edge of the galaxy, the direction her light had gone, and engaged the engines. The Aurora roared into the stars, leaving behind Earth, war, and everything he once knew. Ethan's eyes were calm now. Not empty, not sad, just certain. He followed her trail into the great unknown, chasing a promise that had become eternal. Years passed. The galaxy changed. But Ethan Cross never stopped searching the stars. He became a legend whispered across colonies, the man who chased a ghost through the void. They said he had lost his mind, that he was chasing light that no longer existed. But Ethan didn't care, because every time he looked into the endless night, he could still hear her voice, soft, distant, calling him forward. "Follow the light, and you'll find me." His ship, the Aurora, drifted far beyond human space now. Its engines hummed softly, powered by what little remained of Carethian technology. Ethan had grown older. His hair had turned gray, his hands rough, but his eyes were the same, calm, focused. They still searched for her. He often talked to the empty air, as if she was there. "Lyra," he said quietly one night, staring at the stars through the glass. "Do you still hear me?" The ship answered with silence. Only the faint hum of the engines filled the void. Then, something flickered. A light far away, and not white, not red, but silver. The same silver as her eyes. Ethan straightened in his seat. His heart skipped a beat. He adjusted the scanners. The signal was weak but clear. 3 beats, pause, 2 beats, pause, 1 beat. "Her pattern," he whispered. "It's you." The engines roared to life. The Aurora turned toward the light and began to move. The signal led him through an uncharted sector of space, a sea of glowing nebulae and drifting crystals. The light was beautiful, almost alive. As he passed through, the air inside the ship shimmered faintly, like soft starlight breathing. Hours turned into days. Then the nebula opened into a clear void, and Ethan saw something impossible. A planet, floating alone in the dark. It was small, covered in silver clouds that reflected starlight like mirrors. In the center of its atmosphere glowed a tower of light reaching into space, pulsing in the same rhythm as her signal. Ethan's breath caught. Lyra! He guided the ship down through the mist. The clouds parted, revealing a world of white stone and glowing rivers. It was quiet, peaceful, uninhabited, yet it felt alive somehow, as if the whole planet was breathing softly in its sleep. He landed near the base of the glowing tower. As he stepped out, gravity felt light like a dream. His boots touched smooth ground that glowed faintly beneath him. The air was cool and the sky above shimmered with silver light. He could almost hear music, soft, distant like a heartbeat in the air. He walked toward the tower. The closer he came, the stronger the pulse became. At its base, he saw strange carvings, Carethian symbols spiraling upward in lines of light. He reached out and traced them with his fingers. The markings warmed under his touch. Then a voice spoke, gentle and familiar. "You found me, Ethan," he froze. "Lyra?" The tower glowed brighter. The light gathered into a shape, a silhouette, tall and graceful, made of pure energy. Her outline appeared first, then her face, her eyes shining like twin stars. She looked exactly as he remembered her, only now she was made of light itself. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "It's you." "It's really you," she smiled softly. "I told you I'd wait among the stars." He stepped closer, his hand trembling. "Are you alive?" She tilted her head. "Not in the way you are. The Nova Lance didn't destroy me, it transformed me. My body is gone, but my essence lives inside the energy of this world. The Devourer's cores, their power became part of me when I stopped them." Ethan stared in awe. "You became a world?" Lyra nodded slowly. "A world of peace. I built this place from light and memory, and I called it Promise." The word hit him like a heartbeat. He smiled through his tears. "You named a planet after our promise?" Her voice softened. "No, Ethan, I named it after you, because you kept it." He stood there for a long moment, staring up at her light. He wanted to reach out to hold her again, but his hand passed through the air like mist. "I wish I could touch you," he whispered. She looked at him tenderly. "You already have in every way that matters." He laughed quietly, though his voice shook. "You always said strange things, and you always tried to understand them," she said gently. Silence followed, not empty, but peaceful. The kind of silence that holds meaning instead of absence. Then she spoke again. "You can stay if you wish. This world is not like others. Time moves differently here. You could live and never fade." Ethan looked around. The rivers of light, the soft silver sky, the feeling of warmth that wrapped around his heart. It was beautiful and lonely. He looked back at her. "I came all this way to find you, Lyra. I'm not leaving." Her light brightened. "Then stay." He took off his helmet, letting the air touch his face. It felt like sunlight and rain all at once. He closed his eyes. "What happens now?" Her voice was a whisper beside him. "Now, you rest." The light around him grew warmer, softer. It wrapped around him like gentle arms. His body felt lighter, his heartbeat slower. He wasn't afraid. Not anymore. As the light embraced him, he felt her presence, real, close, and calm. He heard her laugh again, the way it had sounded years ago by the fence under the broken sky. He smiled. "I kept my promise," her voice answered, full of love. "And so did I." When the light faded, there was silence again. The tower still glowed, but now two pulses beat in harmony. One silver, one blue, echoing across the sky of the planet called Promise. Some say that if you travel far enough, you can still see that world glowing faintly from afar. And if you listen closely, you can hear two voices whispering among the stars, a boy and a girl bound by love that outlived time. Some promises, they say, are stronger than death. And every time a shooting star crosses the night sky over Earth, its trail shines silver and blue, like a vow written in light. The end